studio. Looking outside, I did see my next guest is here to come into the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. The Lynch with the Democratic Party is around the corner.
Hey.
Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, nice to see you.
I appreciate your coming in. This is the
Okay.
studio.
I like it.
I saw you chatting out there, so everyone going by.
I was talking to a few people and talking to Josh and getting all the updates on all the news.
No shortage of news right now.
It's a busy couple of weeks.
It's the busy time.
Yeah.
It is the busy season.
Yeah.
We're keep an eye, through the buildings up to the State House up there right now with what's going on with the budget.
It's getting hot up there. Yeah.
Luckily, it's not too hot out right now, but when you go up there, it's just.
I mean, every year, it's the last couple of weeks it gets a little warm. There's always differences of opinion and give and take in the real, true sense of the word. And that's going on right now, but it all seems to kind of work out in the end, so we'll see.
So there's been some heat. We saw the progressive Dems come out and say, vote against this budget. You fired back. They fired back again. What do you have to say to that? This kind of faction of the party that's putting out these releases, putting out their position, and here you are, a senior advisor to the party, kind of firing back. What's going on?
Senior's another word for getting old, by the way.
No, top advisor, Bill.
Look, we've always had, at least since I've been involved for the last 15 to 20 years, factions of the party, including our more liberal or progressive wing. They probably have grown in numbers and are, like to be outspoken, which is fine. And they have an agenda, which is also great. It's a strong part of our party process. I was a little uneasy with the announcement that the budget that was passed out of the House was a right-wing conservative budget, because it clearly is not. And there were a lot of Democrats, including some progressive Democrats by name, who voted for the budget in the House. So I just thought it was important to point out that, the State House, politics in general, the art of compromise can't be completely lost. It's very seldom do you get every single thing that's important to your agenda. And I think this year in particular, with revenues being down and having a tough year revenue-wise, that the House finance people were able to sit down, including the Senate and the governor, and share the pain. Nobody got everything that they wanted.
No.
But from the progressive standpoint, we raised the minimum wage, maybe not as high or as quickly as some people would have liked, but we did it. Restored, some bus passes for the elderly and disabled with RIPTA. No big broad tax increases. Raised the wages for home care workers and people that care for developmentally disabled. So we did some really important things. Not everybody got everything they wanted. That's kind of what happened.
You saw yesterday earned sick time. There was a compromise on that as well.
Yeah, I think that's still being discussed. It's moved from where it was, and it's still one of the items that's sort of being hotly debated, speaking of the temperature outside of the State House right now. So I think we'll see some type of compromise on paid sick leave, which is important to an awful lot of people in the Democratic Party, I know for sure, and hopefully something will happen on that issue.
So what do you think, coming out of 16, when we saw a Bernie be successful here and beat a Hillary, do you expect, how do you see 18 playing out with that happen? Were you surprised by that here in the state?
I was a little surprised at the size of the difference, the results. I wasn't shocked at the actual result because it was becoming sort of, a wave in certain areas of the country. So, listen, in 2018, who knows? We're going to have our own, state elections that are going to be apparently pretty contentious, which I think is good for the process. And clearly there's no question that Bernie Sanders was able to energize a group of people, including right here in Rhode Island, who hopefully will stay involved in the process in 2018. So we'll see. There'll be new people that weren't involved in the Sanders-Hillary Clinton race. So it's going to be interesting. It certainly won't be boring. It'll be great for Go Local.
It's great for the media, keeping tabs on the interfighting, if you will. I mean, do you expect to see the progressive Dems keep pushing their agenda and sort of, as you said, responding to it and making your own, again, response to what's happening up at the State House?
I hope they do. I mean, listen, I think that it's important that the progressive Democrats in our party continue to aggressively push their agenda. That's what they're there for. I respect that. No group's going to probably prevail on every single issue across the board. We have, as you know, some conservative Democrats who are not in lockstep with things that I might believe in as a Democrat. We've always had that issue. So I think that that'll continue to be part of it, and I think that that will sort of make the process more interesting. And then, of course, in 18, we'll be able to engage in the Republicans. We're going to know where we are with President Trump. We're going to know where, I hope, some of these Republicans in Rhode Island at that point will have to answer your questions about do they agree and support President Trump and his policies or not. Right now, you can't find any of them in Rhode Island to comment about this stuff, but I don't think that that will work through 2018, so I think it's going to be interesting.
Well, especially on the gubernatorial side, you have a Joe Trillo who's been exploring, and he's someone who's been so outspoken in support of Trump. How do you see things shaping up on the GOP side of the gubernatorial race?
When I'm asked that, I think they should all run. I think that Joe Trillo and Mayor Fung and the former Republican
Flanders.
chairwoman, Pat Morgan, and Bob Flanders, I think that they're a good group. They all ought to run, and they can all campaign and convince the people of Rhode Island which one of them is more friendly with Donald Trump than the other one.
So that's the GOP side. I do have to bring up the comment that you said about Chafee when he was making some strong statements about the governor. Chafee, unable to muster a legitimate re-election campaign, limped out of office with an approval rating in the 20s. He proved himself incapable of reviving Rhode Island's economy, and by the end of his term, Rhode Island's unemployment rate had climbed to the highest in the nation. This is one Dem to another.
Well, and I told Josh that was before I toned it down.
that had tone.
Well, first of all, on the Democratic issue, as you know, Lynch Chafee's kind of been all over the board.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's been a lifetime Republican, and then an independent, and then sort of a temporary Democrat, and now his public comments are that he's not really sure what party he affiliates with or what he would run as if he runs.
So do you not see him as a Democrat, even though technically he's still technically?
I would have to say right now, based on the comments that he's been making, I would not see him as a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, and I don't think even he really refers to himself as that at this point. My point was that things were a little bit different when he left office than he seems to be representing them now, and I don't think is fair at all. Apparently he has some personal agenda with Governor Raimondo, and I don't think his remarks about her and her job in 17 months have been accurate. We do have, according to our Department of Labor, the lowest unemployment rate in Rhode Island since 2001. We've added 17 new companies in 17 months. That's one a month in Rhode Island. 12,000 new jobs, computer tech in high schools throughout the state. So there are some things that Lynch Chafee, I think, has been missing that have been happening under the Raimondo administration, and there's a lot more good things to come over the next year and a half.
Do you think he runs again?
I don't know, honestly. I haven't seen Lynch. I like Lynch personally. I'm just not sure that this is the right time based on how his term went as governor to jump back into the mix. But look, I got to say, I respect anybody that runs. I don't care what party you're from. To put your name on the ballot, I've done it, and to get out there and work and run, I think anybody who does that deserves a lot of respect. I'm just not sure that there's going to be that support for Lynch at this point in time, but who knows?
Now talk to us. I kind of joked about the senior advisor position. What is your official role within the party here in the state?
As you know, I was the state chair for 12 years, then I took a step back because, fortunately for me, I have a busy law practice, which I'm happy to have. I work with my brother Patrick and really enjoy doing that. So I took a step back for a couple of years, and then when Donald Trump got elected, I started watching some of the things that he seems to stand for and what he says. And I reached out to the speaker, the governor, and others and said, look, I don't want to do anything full-time. I don't really want to go back in as the state chair. We still have a great state chair in Joe Magnar, but I would be willing to help out sort of if there's anything appropriate. And that kind of led to ongoing discussions, and I agreed and was happy to volunteer to do things like this or do some public appearances and things to sort of respond to some of the misstatements that seem to be out there from the Republican state chair in Rhode Island and others. So
well, as we've seen
a
lot
of an undefined job, I guess, is what I'm
We've
saying.
seen quite a few statements from you in the recent weeks, and that's why I said we got to get Bill on and kind of see what's going on.
I'm happy to do it.
What's
That's
going on
why
in the
I
party?
did it. It was the only way I could get it on Go Local.
by putting out, so we'll put out more statements, we'll have you in. What do you think about what's going on the national level? What happened with Georgia? They're saying now Dems are 0 for 4, 0 for 5 if you're counting the races.
I think that this talk about Georgia being, the deciding factor on how people feel about Donald Trump is ridiculous. That congressional district is a historically strong Republican district. It was closer than it's been in the past, so if anything, it doesn't look as good that Democrats were even able to be competitive. But most people that I know anyway nationally did not expect and don't see that as a, you know, a litmus test on Donald Trump. That's going to come in the midterm elections, and I think that we're going to see nationally huge differences and blowback on Donald Trump when we get to that in fair races across the country. There's far too much discussion about one or two hand-picked races, and I don't think it's really a good litmus test at all.
Well, we're going to be keeping an eye 18 nationally, locally here. You know, it's interesting, a lot of folks obviously talking about the gubernatorial election. Not hearing a lot on the Democratic front. Do you expect anyone is going to challenge the mayor here in the city?
You know, I have to say, I'm not that involved in city politics. My office, as you know, is in Providence, and I know the mayor, but I haven't followed it that closely. He seems like he's doing a pretty good job. You know, there's always a little tension, I noticed, between him and Mayor Fung in Cranston. But in terms of in Providence, I haven't heard of anybody. I'm sure that the mayor's working as hard as he can every day, like most of these elected officials are who are in office. And then when the time comes and the election rolls around, if you have an opponent, then it's off to the races. We'll know soon enough. I mean.
Yes, we will. It's June 17. It's going to start heating up even hotter.
Yeah.
So I joked about getting the statements from you. So do you think we'll continue to see this again? Pressure from the progressives, and you're sort of acknowledging what they put forth, and then putting back your own response to what they put out there.
I hope you'll continue to see that from the progressives, and you're going to continue to see it from the Republicans that at the State House. There aren't a lot of them, but you know they have their caucus and they make their public statements. You know, Pat Morgan, who I went back and forth with for years when she was the chair of the Republican Party. And the progressives, I certainly would encourage them to continue to do that. I think they make a huge difference. You know, there's a reason that we're talking about issues. There's a reason that we have gay marriage in Rhode Island now. There's a reason that the minimum wage has been increased. So I think all of these voices, they might be from disparate parts of the party or from the Republican Party, but they make a difference. And I would encourage them to continue to do that. And I may not always agree with them, and there are others in the party who may not. It doesn't mean that there's any personal issue there. It's more of a sense of, look, you know, let's see if we can find middle ground. I think that's what people in Rhode Island want national. They want to see if their elected officials are willing to compromise and work together. And I think that's why people can't stand what's going on in Washington. There's a complete inability and refusal to compromise or to work together on anything. It doesn't matter what the issue is. And I think people are fed up with that.
You see it all the time. We see it certainly here. What did you think, speaking of D.C., sort of maybe the progressive sides taking Senator Whitehouse to task for his vote on Pompeo?
Look, you know, you can, like anything, you can pick any one vote, you know, and try to make an issue with it. I don't know personally anybody who doesn't think that Sheldon Whitehouse has been not only a tremendous U.S. Senator, but a tremendous senator from Rhode Island. You know, we're at the smallest state in the country. We have two of the best U.S. senators, both of whom have tremendous amounts of respect in Senator Reid and Senator Whitehouse in the U.S. Senate, both with the Democratic side of the aisle, but frankly, also with regard to Republicans. So, you know, I think Senator Whitehouse has done a great job. He'll continue to do a great job. And with he and Senator Reid, we're very lucky to have those two guys there.
Well, I appreciate being able to pick your brain on local, national politics, and I'm sure we'll have you in soon. So send something out and we'll have you back in.
I'll do that.
Okay. Bill
Thank
Lynch,
you.
thanks for coming in
Thank you
today.
very much.
I'll let you